Our societies have become completely polarised. This is the case wherever you are in the West, from the UK to Europe, Australia or America, even in India. If you criticise Islam, you're far right. If you criticise traditional families, you're woke. If you criticise LGBTQ, you're a fascist. The rights-based society has turned into a polarised society, each member of each group insisting on their right to do what they want and throwing their toys out of a pram if they don't get their way. To Hegel, a right was a claim that you had over somebody. In that sense, it was an ability to apply a category, be this in the workplace or in one's private life. Supplier, secretary, customer, wife, daughter, etc., etc. No rights exist without reference to another person or thing. If I insist on trans rights, I don't just want to be trans in my own home, I want to go out into the street and have my gender recognised by others. Maybe I want to get them to use my pronouns. Something always has to give. If I succeed, I've managed to score a point over the other person. Our polarised society then is a clash of categories. Left versus right, two genders versus 72, pro-abortion v anti-abortion, progressive versus traditionalist, etc., etc. What started out as an awareness of class, another category, was turned by the postmodernists into a plethora. Without Marx, there's no postmodernism, even if they were not Marxist in the strictest sense of the term. Without Immanuel Kant, however, who lived from 1724 to 1804, there are no categories at all in the modern sense. Categories stem from Aristotle, who declared there to be 10. Whereas Aristotle deemed the most important category to be substance, ousia in Greek, Kant proposed that there were 12, and claimed the categorical imperative was derived from the Bible. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. His philosophy thus emphasized morality. There were cases where the categorical imperative could be set to one side, but on the whole, this was how it entered our laws, via the likes of John Stuart Mill, so that secularism and liberalism were born. Kant himself was a Christian, but objected to much that had been a part of Christianity previously. The saints, miracles, angels, in short, anything for which there was no evidence. Christianity was still useful, however, he opined, for ethics. 10 Commandments, for instance. This is what has come down to us today, in this postmodern age. For the plethora of categories have now started waging war on one another, war ironically being something that Kant himself was keen to abolish. Yet in the New Testament it is clear that simply doing to others as you would have done to yourself is not the goal. Jesus says if someone strikes you on the left cheek, offer him the other cheek instead. A man chops off the Roman centurion's ear, and Jesus restores it. His faith saved him. It is by faith we are saved, Jesus tells us, not by good deeds to others. Excessive empathy, being nice, is often cited at present as a source of a dystopian society. All this stems back to Kant's categorical imperative. The true imperative is faith, which must result in good works, which are themselves, however, just expressions of faith. There is ultimately no true separation between faith and works. A work that is successful but is not carried out in faith is not good really in the eyes of God. He does not merely want us to be kind to others. Jesus wasn't being nice when he turned over the tables of the tradesmen in the temple. So what can we do to exit the current polarization? Technology can't solve it because this too is based on the secular idea of the good and human rights. The law and hence politics can't solve it either because they can only legislate for goodness, but not for faith. Faith cannot be legislated for. We need to leave Kant and his categorizations behind. For, as Aristotle said, the categorical imperative lies with substance, with ousia, which from the New Testament onwards is available to us via faith in the living I am. The key question is not how do I behave in a good way, which was the most important question for the Pharisees, but was asked in the temple by the scribe, when he asked Jesus, how do I obtain eternal life? Not that this is solely down to one man, Immanuel Kant. I don't wish to be too harsh on him, for he did have some good ideas, and was preferable to the empiricist David Hume, who originally woke him from his dogmatic slumbers, and who to all intents and purposes was a nihilist. But Kant got the a priori wrong, for the a priori, too, is faith in Jesus Christ, even if to his credit he realised there had to be an a priori, which is more than some. But this is not categories such as class, gender, political orientation, human rights, or any other of the categories that are currently bandied about in this present age. As Christians, we have to resist categorizing others or ourselves. Yet there is a category that has to prevail over the others, and this, as Aristotle tells us, is substance, being or ousia, of which we have an awareness as children, but which we can only regain later as adults through faith. This then, to return to the title of the video, is the matrix that Kant built, the categorical imperative, which contains both socialism, redistribution of material goods, and capitalism, increase of material goods, both tradition and modernity, the woke and the unwoke, and many others. If we are to overcome this, we must prioritize ousia and change our habits to focus on this category, for this is the most categoryless of all categories, and in this sense it is equal to love itself.